A term like toxic masculinity, for example, I think is an unfair term. Because toxic masculinity is saying that there are certain aspects in certain measure of being a man that are harmful to both men and women.
No.
But that's life.
No. Men as young boys are consistently taught to remove any emotion except for anger. They're taught to remove
I don't believe that.
But it happens all the time.
No, it happens isn't them being taught that.
Well, then how does it happen? By all of the men demonstrating it to them in their lives?
Yeah. And there's a lot of male friend groups that don't do that. They don't hold other men accountable.
Yeah.
And
that is a huge problem.
I think only great men can make great men.
Oh boy.
I do believe that. I don't think there's great women all over the place, and I could show you some of their sons, they look terrible. I believe only great men make great men. This is my honest personal opinion. Whether it be from a father, a brother, a cousin, you need a great male influence if you want to be a great man. This is my opinion.
Absolutely not.
A great woman can make a great man? Show me one.
Well, I'm going to guess that your definition of a great man is very capitalist, so I don't know that I have a
No, my definition of a great man is actually very wide speaking. It's just, a great man. Okay, going to the traditional perception of what men, protect and provide somebody of his word, somebody reliable. Somebody who teaches you, values, qualities, standing up, defending, honor. I think great men make great men, in my personal opinion.
Okay.
In my personal opinion.
So you're saying that, when you were to speak about the inappropriate introduction, you said inappropriate.
Inappropriate, because I do believe in new feminism. I'm a big believer in. Mm-hmm. Right? I study politics. I'm a big believer in the teachings of new feminism and in understanding the fact that we needed a suffragette movement. It is not lost on me that, men left to their own devices did not create a safe space for women at all. Mm-hmm. When I say the inappropriate introduction of feminism, I don't want the necessary growth and exploration and the challenge and the unique responsibility and the blessing it is to try and be a man to be so vilified or demonized. So when I say that, what do I say? A term like toxic masculinity, for example, I think is an unfair term. Because toxic masculinity is saying that there are certain aspects in certain measure of being a man that are harmful to both men and women.
No.
But that's life.
No. Because masculinity is not a fixed term. Being masculine is to be what a man is.
Correct.
So toxic masculinity refers to traits that are socialized in men that are harmful both to themselves and others.
But that goes to my point. In my opinion, there is no individual trait socialized in men that is harmful to others. There are traits when left unchecked or over-introduced that become harmful. So for example, some would say men in a locker room and bully fight culture. Some people would say that men are so aggressive. Men socialize through razzing and bullying and fighting one another. This creates men that beat up other people and inappropriately use their power. But there is a healthy way in men understanding how to navigate their way through conflict. So I don't see it as toxic. I don't see that as an introduction of toxicity. As a man, you got to know how to work your way through conflict. And because you live in a society with other people who aren't necessarily always going to be ones you can talk to, you got to understand that sometimes these guys are going to try and hit you. And you got to know your way to navigate through that while understanding and also being taught that this is not how you handle other people. This is my opinion. So maybe I'll give it to you then. Tell me something that is toxic masculinity, and I'll tell you how it's a thing that is necessary, but just run amok. This is my opinion.
Yeah. The way you're talking about these traits is that you will take any trait and justify it because in a niche scenario, it can be helpful if this and that happens a specific way. I mean, men as young boys are consistently taught to remove any emotion except for anger. They're taught to remove
I don't believe that.
But it happens all the time.
No. It happens isn't them being taught that.
Well, then how does it happen? By all of the men demonstrating it to them in their lives?
So what?
It just happens that most men grow up to have no healthy expression of emotions except for anger. I don't know how that happened. No one taught it to them. It just happens.
So you're saying that there's a systemic push to only teach men how to express anger?
Not to only teach them how to express anger, but to suppress any expression of any other emotion, particularly ones of wonder, joy, overt sadness.
I have a hard time with that.
These things are trained out of boys when they're kids.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah. I can remember
You're an artist.
Yeah.
So how did it unhappen?
Because I overcame what happened to me. You know, the men in my life taught me to feel nothing and be mad all the time. And I've worked throughout my adult life to not feel like that.
I don't think I was taught feel nothing, but I think I was taught in certain moments you cannot be so wound up in how you're feeling. You need to achieve the objective. I don't think that I was overly pushed towards, hey, you have to feel angry.
Yeah.
But there was a helpful understanding of, sometimes to be a man, I don't care how much you hate this. You just have to get it done now. We move forward.
I think
but I was also then taught art and emotion and feeling and the beauty of, it's not like I wasn't taught the balance. But yeah, I think it's helpful to teach some men, we can't sit here and cry about this.
Do you think that your experience is most men's experience as far as that's concerned?
I'm trying to draw on references that I think are pretty universal. So I'm trying to draw on like sports teams, locker room culture. I'll say that I know locker room culture is very harmful and it is a place where a lot of bad things can happen.
Yeah.
And it's where most of my friends that have trauma, where we talk about it, a lot of them happen in the locker room.
Oh wow, really?
Right? Because it's a terrible place if it's not culturally handled properly, right? But there are good things that come out of it too. And it is from the same primordial ooze. Does that make sense what I'm saying to you? Like, what was happening in that locker room was both beautiful and terrible. And the terror I identify as separate from the beauty of it. It was that's what I'm saying. It was almost oversaturated. It was too much. It wasn't controlled. The men, the coaches responsible for that locker room didn't do their job. It became Lord of the Flies in there. Whereas the core concept of it is beautiful to understand how to work with your fellow people. Go ahead.
For sure.
What I'll argue is that sports teams for men are beautiful because they represent one of the few places in which it's acceptable for men to have close community with other men.
Yes.
Which is something that women have intrinsically from the time they're children.
Correct.
And so the toxic aspects are still present, but this is a topic for another podcast. But when we talk about the male loneliness epidemic, what we're really talking about is men's inability to form close bonds with other men, because that is not exemplified or taught in almost any setting except for outside of a sports team, which, while beautiful, is surrounded by this haze of toxic masculinity, of hazing, of, objectifying women within those spaces, of all these things that tell men what it means to be a man, while also giving them something they want in their soul, which is deep connection to other people.
I spent time in a locker room. I spent time in a very close-knit church community. And then I loved theater class. I spent time as a theater kid, right? So I spent time I loved the arts. And then I spent time, I was part of a lot of groupings. My mom had me in a lot of stuff. And some of these things were male only, some of these things were co-ed, right?
Yeah.
For me, in my experience, the synergy across all of those was very helpful. And there is a uniqueness that I got from the male only environment that I think I need.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then understanding how you have to balance that when you're in the male-female environment. From a young kid, I needed. So I needed to understand, yes, we're in community, but it's different when it's just guys, and it's different when there's women here.
Yeah.
Right? And so this longingness for community and connection, maybe because I had the benefit of being in these social programs, I didn't feel I don't know, I don't want to say all kids had it, but I didn't feel deprived of those things.
Yeah.
Okay? But it was helpful for me to learn and understand, all right, this is what it's like when all guys are here, and this is what it's like when guys or girls are here. And at least for me as a kid, when the environments would merge, and I don't know how bright this is gonna be. The jokes that we said as just guys in the locker room, it wasn't a taught lesson to teach the kid. You can't say that here. You can't say that to her. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. Nobody had to teach us. You don't say that to the woman, to her. You don't say that while she's here. You don't violate her in that way. If a guy would make a girl cry in kindergarten, all the men, you shouldn't have done that. In terms of this not protection, but this idea of our environment or whatever this environment was where we're trying out and figuring out what it is to be young men and da-da-da-da. You don't bring that over here. That's not safe, fair, or right. Which is why, to me, the toxic masculinity thing, the reason why I have a hard time with it is, and I think it's the same for women, it's hard to figure out how to be a guy.
Yeah.
Because it could mean anything, right? And it can come from anywhere, right? The thing that you and I always joke about is Hollywood actors. They're super rich and famous and sexy now, And that only happened when they booked their first movie.
Yeah.
Because right up to the point that they weren't in Hollywood, they were nerdish. Yeah. They weren't cool. They weren't. And like, as a man, you know, we look at the whole Jonathan Majors thing. As a man, I understand what happened. Yeah. Because we as society sees this big muscular guy, but I know what it was like to be the only kid going to the Alvin Ailey dance class, but then saying, yeah, I play football too. Like, I know what that is, and it's hard. So to me, the locker rooms are necessary spaces for us to stretch and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
If the coaches maintain these spaces as safe, and if the coaches maintain these places, I had a coach that said, hey, no rookie hazing. So I understand what you're talking about, right? But it was a thing. You're not hazing nobody in here. Yeah. But where do you get to trial and error things? If as a man that has all these things going on inside of you, you're getting older, where do you get to trial and error these things if not for the male locker room where your mistakes don't become fatal? Because once you introduce women into the space, this mistake is now a fatal mistake. Because you're right, you can't make that mistake with her here. Yeah. You can't make that joke with her here. You can't. But when you're in the locker room and the coach says no hazing and there's a presence and a guy makes a joke about going on a date, I had coaches come in and say, you can't do that.
That's good.
I had the kid say, I'm going out with so-and-so and man, I can't wait. And I had the coach overhear it and come over and say, look. You can't do that. This is how this is supposed to go. If she's agreed to go with, your number one job is to make sure she's responsible. If he had made that comment in a woman's space, it's a different crime.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. I'm trying to give it a bit more.
So that's where you're saying great men make great men.
I do believe that because men make mistakes. So we all make mistakes.
So would the other reason then why you believe most men are trash is because there aren't a lot of great men? Raising great men.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot of
women. But so that goes to what I'm saying. That I'm trying to bring it back. There aren't a lot of great men.
But they exist.
I'm just
disagree. Not giving up.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree that there aren't. I'm just saying it's the grocery store and there's so many bad apples and then you're blaming somebody who just wants some apples. Well, you keep picking bad apples.
No, I don't disagree. Like I remember being in high school. You know, you're going on a date, and I remember the guy saying, you know, you got a pipe, you got to have sex with her, and it's like there was no concept of like consent.
Yeah,
it was just an idea of you've gone out with this girl. It's almost like it didn't happen, and we will accost you and embarrass you and make you feel ashamed of yourself if you don't somehow find a way to have sex with this woman. Yeah. And he's 14 years old.
Because men feel entitled to women. They feel this is my birthright to have a woman.
I don't know that that's what it is. I think that the guys who see their value through the attraction and acquisition of women are men who have not been given the opportunity to learn masculinity through a healthier space. I don't think men feel entitled to women. The men I know don't feel entitled to women. The men I know think they have to work for women. Okay. The men I know think that women is something that they have access to once they've achieved. Right? Even in the way guys joke about it, like even in the negative jokes, it's if we win this game and we are successful, then I'm gonna go talk to the girl I like because it would have provided me I'm being ingested and funny. But I only know men that know their access to women through the windows of achievement. Then I think what happens is we do not teach men the worthy struggle of difficulty. So you haven't achieved yet. So no women for you yet.
Do you think about men these days think that way?
I think that's our responsibility to teach them that. I think it is our responsibility to say, you have not yet achieved. So no, you don't get access to her. You have not yet achieved. So no, you don't get to lie to get access to her. No, you have not. What we need to focus on, my good friend, is achieving. Because you're not wrong. And I think we would agree with this. I'm not saying universally. I think everybody likes to succeed. Everybody likes winners. You must achieve to be. I always say don't try to look impressive. Be impressive.
Absolutely.
Achieve. And in your achieving, the women that you're chasing and begging and trying to trick, they'll come to you.
That's right.
But we must focus on achieving. And I think that we have to teach men achieve, succeed, be victorious in things. It is from this lens that you will feel more fulfilled. And then they begin to pursue not women as their entitlement, but achievement. Because it is the windows of achievement that then unlock the other things that they're desiring.
I agree with that.
In my opinion.
I definitely agree with that.
I actually disagree with that.
I know you do.
Because I feel like
And this from a man who is of great achievement and accomplishment. So I'm so surprised that you feel this way.
I feel like relationships have become too commodified. You know, we talked about in our first episode, Shannon Sharp, right? The reason that 19-year-old chose to date Shannon Sharp, who's in his 50s, is because she saw him as a commodity that she could get money out of, basically. And he saw her as a commodity. She's hot and young. I don't disagree that achievement in your life, success, all of those things are worthy benchmarks for what should be considered when going into a relationship. But a man who has made $1 million hasn't necessarily done any work on himself. He might still be a child inside, right? Like he might be immature. He might be any number of things. So I don't disagree with the idea of achievement as something important, but I think that
I do mean across all spectrums, by the way. Like the guy who's made $1 million.
Personal.
Yeah, a guy who's made $1 million. If he's not emotionally intelligent, you have not yet achieved. You probably still don't have access to women. A lot of rich guys who shouldn't talk to women today.
Okay.
So it's achievement across the spectrum. It's the graduation we're talking about. We must better ourselves.
Right. Okay.
And that is a journey that is happening every day.
Okay.
And in the moment that you are better to a certain degree, you have access to a certain type and a certain degree of women. Let me tell you something, brothers. You get to the next level, you're going to meet a whole nother set of women. And then you keep going. And it's graduated levels of achievement, success, and stability that provide you access to other things, just like life.
Right.
You make a certain amount of money, you can go to McDonald's. You make a little bit more, you might go to Red Lobster. You make a bit more than that, I'll see you at the Keg. You make more than that, there's some restaurants you don't know the name of. You know what I'm saying? But you are on your way. There's levels, and I think people, I don't think it's not commodifying to say that there's levels to life.
No. When you talk about it being holistic, then I do agree with you.
Yeah. I think it's because there's a lot of guys with a lot of money. A lot of drug dealers out here with a lot of money. I wouldn't bring them to the French Laundry in California because they wouldn't, because they're not. This is embarrassing. I've heard women say that the guy has more money than God, giving her money 10 times, and she would say, "I was so embarrassed when I'd go eat with him because he just didn't know what he was doing."
What to do?
And now, granted, it's up to now a man to say, "Brother, come on, you're embarrassing yourself." It's up to men to. That's another thing. My friend group does that. I don't know a lot of men that do that.
A lot of men.
We need to tell each other when we're embarrassing.
There's a lot of male friend groups that don't do that. They don't hold other men accountable. And that is a huge problem because I do believe women, maybe not publicly.
Which also goes to my point about great men making great men, right? Because a woman accosts men all the time and they laugh. But when men say you're an embarrassment, it causes you feel something. What do you mean? It's a bit different. Please.
So women, I believe women do tell other women, look.
Pardon?
I do. Okay, so I think women tell other women.
What do they tell them?
Yes.
What do they tell them?
That's inappropriate. You shouldn't be doing that.
You think so?
Yeah. Because women are always in conversations about leveling up. It's always a part of the conversation.
Then why don't they do it?
You don't think so? Like I mentioned, women are always talking about counseling, talking about books that they've read, or even something as simple as how to do your makeup better, how to do your hair better, how to cook this meal, they're always, the conversations with women are always about workout routines and let's start juicing. There's always conversations about becoming a better woman.
Okay, that's fair, actually,
yeah.
I don't know if men have those conversations with each other.
Not as much, no. But then this is where I'm taking the responsibility as us men to create those communities and those safe spaces. And okay. The reason why I have an issue with the term toxic masculinity is I think it stands as an obstacle to the creation of the type of environments I think would be helpful.
That's fair.
Right? So I understand why Andrew Tate's problematic. He's incredibly problematic.
Yeah.
But the core of his idea is I want to create men-only experiences and environments where men could just make mistakes here. And then I do believe we teach them, we educate them, we're supposed to spit them out better. No, he's not doing that.
No, certainly not.
He's not doing that. But the core concept of what he says is, his whole thing, now look, his shtick is a lot of stuff. But one thing his shtick is not is, he says, get in shape.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Correct.
Be capable. Be a person of means. In those 4 pillars, you'd love to see what life would have for you.
Yeah.
Those core concepts. Now, granted, he's not a perfect messenger for that. It's important that men know that, though. Too many men subscribe to apathy. Oh man, it looks like it's not going to happen for me.
Right.
And then that's just what it is. No. No. And I do find women are consistently pushing and extending. I find it a uniquely important, maybe it's because they're not doing it, but what you just described, men should be doing in spades. You and I will have conversations all the time about politics. Hey, what do you think about this in the world? And men should do that.
Sharpening each other.
You're giving me different perspectives. You know how many times you've said something like, I did not see that. I should probably look into it before I keep talking. And I think men uniquely have to push themselves to do that.
Yeah.
My posture on the prompt is, in a society where for many, many years we would say men have not been doing that, and the number is still only 40% of women that would be single and unmarried. If the argument is that 70% of men are in poor taste, that would still tell me that 30% of women aren't doing their part of the job here.
Start again.
If we're going to say, oh my gosh, there's a vast number of men that aren't improving themselves, and it's still only going to be 45% of women that are single without child by 2030.
That's just now.
And you're going with the concept that 70% of the apples might be bad. Who knows what that number is? But even on just that alone, that means that 30% of women aren't doing their job. That means that 30% of women are just with guys, even though they've done nothing to
We call them pick-me's. Pick me. They are still they're still a part of that older generation mentality that it's better to just have a man, even if I've heard of relationships where it's like he's literally like a log.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the single married woman? She's married technically, but she's doing everything. Right. She might as well be single. And some women they like the way it looks. I have the man, I have the children, I have the house, I have all of these things. So it's really an aesthetic.
Yeah.
Right? But it serves no purpose. So we call those women pick-me's. But a lot of women, if you talk to them, especially the older generation, they're not happy. They're not happy. And if they could do it all over again, they wouldn't. I think there's a study that's around 55%, 55%, somewhere between 45 and 55% of divorced women would never get married again. To me, that's
so much.
That's high.
I know a number of divorced women who have kids who say it's easier to raise their kids now that they're divorced because they have one fewer child.
Correct.
Because their husband was essentially a child.
And we see this obviously as an inherent commentary as to the failed capacity of men. I don't disagree with that concept. But if we were to talk solutions, right?
Yeah.
Maybe let's do that.
Yes.
Okay, so we agree. Again, the dating pool isn't what it used to be, right? I think on both sides. And I think that women are responding to what the market is providing, right?
I disagree. I think the pool is the way it's always been. It's women who have evolved.
So you don't think men? You think men have always been this way?
Yes.
Oh.
So
boy.
I think what has happened is, like I said, women are now okay. One of the biggest motivators for women to have gotten married was financial. That is no longer a motivator for a lot of women because women are now financially able to take care of themselves.
Sure.
Right? So there isn't that financial motivator. But a lot of women of yesteryears were with men because they didn't feel that they could be on their own. And rightfully so, they couldn't be. They couldn't have a bank account. They couldn't own property without a man. So now that women can have these things, there's no motivator other than you're a partner. You're showing up whole. You are adding to my life.
Right.
Instead of draining me of my life. So yes, we need to talk solutions. And the solution is that men need to understand that they can't just be a man. A lot of times I'm a man and I go to work.
That's enough, right?
That's enough.
Come on.
Where women are taught they have to be all the things. They have to be all the things. You have to look 20 forever. You have to cook like Gordon Ramsay forever. Right? Yeah.
No, but I don't, but then it goes to my point. Then maybe we just have to bring more men into the fields that I sit in, because I don't sit in a field that says all you have to do is be a man and show up. I both rub shoulders with, take information from, learn from, and am challenged by the representations and presentations of masculinity that says it is not enough to just wake up in the morning and be a man.
If you like this episode, please subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts, or like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube page.